2023. Wow. What a year. I cannot even explain to you, or try to explain to you, what this year's been like for me, and I can only imagine what it's been like for you. In fact, starting this podcast is pretty much an example of what this year has been like for me. This episode was not part of the episode planner. I had other guests in mind, but I thought, why not end the year off with a look back of what 2023 was like, and possibly look at 2024. So, yeah, here is the year in review. I'm Jason Skippers, and welcome to Things We Learned on a Monday Morning, a podcast where I get to share my learnings and also some guests and friends of mine who've learned something along the way as well. Instead of the general type of year-end reviews, the general type of thoughts of how we approach, or many people approach these type of episodes, this type of content, I thought to try something different. So let's break down 2023 into 2023. So number two, I think two things that I'm really, really grateful for. One is my faith God. I love Jesus. I'm a committed believer and follower of Jesus. I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about what he wants to do, what he calls me to do. In fact, this vocation, all things I'm involved in and that I do, is part of it. It is directed by him. It is commissioned by him. I believe and I love Jesus, and I'm not ashamed to proclaim it or speak about it. But I love Jesus. I love Jesus, and I can't imagine a life without him. I cannot imagine tackling it, all the challenges that 2023 has shown, but over and above that, without a deep belief and a faith in an awesome and amazing God. I know for some of you that may not be the case. Some of you maybe don't follow God or believe in God, but it's something I hold dear to and I'm thankful for, and it has been evidence in my life of his goodness and his faithfulness and how he's carried me through. The second thing is family. Family. This is immediate family, my little tribe of my wife, consisting of my wife and my two girls, and obviously my extended family and all those things. So family, it's having that support system around you or around me has been absolutely invaluable. It has been ridiculously invaluable to make the decisions and the moves I've made. I could not imagine it without having them being close by or being part of this process. So 100%. Yes. Yeah. Family is very, 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 very important. So, God, family. All the way I framed God and family is actually one. I'm being very naughty. God and family is one. And then the second thing is being passionate about the things that I'm doing. So, God, family, one. And yes, being passionate about the things that I do. I have the privilege, and I'll talk about a little bit about a bit later. I have the privilege of doing, and it's vocationally, work-wise, doing things that I'm passionate about. I'm not feeling like it's a weight, or I feel at all negative about things that I get to do, the vocations, the things I get to do with my hands and my brain and my mind for work. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm called for the arts. I'm called for the space of creativity. And what that looks like, obviously, it will look like what it will look like. But I'm passionate about it, and I get to do it every single day of my life. So, yeah. God, family, and the second thing is being passionate about the things that I do. 0. That's the next number. I have 0 regrets for this year. I have zero regrets. Whatever happened this year, happened for a reason, and I've got no regrets. The mistakes I've made is what I call learning fodder. It is the manure which the plants get to grow. The plants of learning, if I must be philosophical, the plants of learning will grow as a result of the mistakes that I've made and the decisions I've made. So I've got zero regrets. Walking away from my previous business and all the learnings, that's 6 years of building into a business, walked away from that to just reinvent and refocus, reshift. Zero regrets. Also, I get to redefine, or the redefining of what actually matters to me by all these decisions and the learnings of this year is that I get to keep the main thing, and which is me pursuing the arts, pursuing and creating a space and innovation and thought leadership and pushing the boundaries within the space of the arts, the creativity, the space of creativity. And so if you hear the word arts, I mean the area of creativity, that would be podcasting, music production, any form of art, artistry that informs and shapes and shifts society. So yeah, that's where my head is at with my contribution to society. So zero regrets. Like I said, mistakes I've made, it is just what I call learning fodder for the plants of growth to grow. Yeah. So I said 2, 0, 2 is the next one. 2 of my most impactful learnings of this year would be change is subtle and continuous. You can't stop change. It will happen with you, to you, and without you. Yes, it is subtle, maybe some more abrupt or more in your face in other spaces or other opportunities, but change is continuous and it will always happen. So it's our job to respond to that change, however we choose to respond to it. And I choose favorably. Always be aware of what is happening, aware that change is happening, and a bit of self-reflection. You reflect, okay, cool, this is what it means, this is what's happening in my world, it's changing. How do I feel about it? What am I going to do about it? How am I going to respond to it? That's something I learned this year. It's like I said, moving away from the business, making those shifts. The economy changes, everything is changing, everything is shifting, everything is growing. In my other capacity at church, where I'm in charge of the creative arts ministry, I'll talk a little bit about later, but that sound, worship, and multimedia, that's quite a broad spectrum group, a big group of people, number of people. I get to help foster their growth and just be going to go after some things. But change, even in that realm, it just grows. It's constant. People change. Life happens to them. So you have to respond to the changes happening in people's lives. So as a leader, you respond to what's happening in their lives. And how can you best support them in their change journey? And so much so you changing plus they changing, so everything is changing, and how we serve the space also changes. So yeah, it is just absolutely ridiculous, but change is happening and is continuous. And so develop a skill, develop a process, develop an approach to change which helps you respond positively or authentically, or also help other people to have a voice in that space, or have a voice to voice their change or their response to change or their uncomfortability to change, because change is always happening. And so if we develop people, this is my mindset, if we develop people that is not change averse but actually excited about change and is able to respond to change with a more positive or healthy mindset, then I think anything is possible. Doesn't mean you go along with the change or you accept, in many essence, changes that want to be brought in, but you're able to respond to it with a level head. Because like I said, it either happens with you or it happens to you. And if it happens to you, that means you're holding on to the past and you're stuck, and it's just not gonna help. So yeah. Second most impactful learning I learned this year, or embraced this year, is knowing who you are and what you have, or what you carry, as I would say. And this enables you to show up well, not only for yourself, but for others in the space. Or in a healthier way you can show up in this space. So that's just one of the biggest learnings I learned this year, is I've got to understand and hear my voice again. And not that this is not a victim space, not that I want to be looking for pity or anything like that. It's just that I discovered even more, so it was more refined, more distilled, the approach of like what I'm able to bring to the space and what my voice is. So I know how I can show up and in spaces where I'm not meant to be. And I think that's important, that I'm even more intentional and more intent, like that's a space I'm not meant to be in, this is a space I am meant to be in, and this is a space I can show up and contribute really well to. And that's okay. And that other space I learned more about myself, or where I could possibly contribute in a future approach, but a future instance or opportunity, but I know I've learned this year. And the spaces I'm most excited about and the spaces I believe I can contribute in and I'm excited about is the area of creativity, obviously. So like I said, what it looks like: podcast, music production, singing, performance, all of the above. Surprisingly, I've discovered more and more in terms of business strategy, in terms of in the creative space, obviously, and I'll talk more about that because you'll hear a bit later, but more about that side of me. But I discovered more and more about myself, and I became more excited and appreciated and proud of my voice, in that sense that I can show up with my chest held high, not in arrogance, but aware of what I can bring, and also not feel inferior or feel less than in a space where, like, there are louder voices. Yeah, I know what I can bring, and I'm okay with that. And since that's been the case, the level of content has obviously increased, and the level of anxiety has decreased, and I know where I'm meant to speak in the space of Myanmar. So, and point in case, being part of the Podcast Guild, South African Podcast Guild, which is an amazing story. I wrote a blog piece about it. You can check it out in LinkedIn. But I'll share a little bit about it. I just left the business, walked away from the Still Effect. Was attending this thing called Music Exchange. Had fun there. I mean, I performed at Music Exchange many years, twice actually, in different iterations, different groups. Was just there to attend, just to chill, just to enjoy the space, just support Martin as well, and ended up chatting to one of the speakers who's presented about podcasting. It obviously resonated with all the things he said. I'm like, yes, we said this to our clients as well, yay! And so that was quite cool. And then I reached out to him on LinkedIn. He graciously accepted. We chatted, and he's like, hey, we're starting this guild. Are you keen to join? And I'm like, wow. And for me, that was an affirmation, just a feather in my cap, and I felt so. It was almost like an affirmation, or an affirmation of skill set of my approach and my voice in the space, which was so cool. I wasn't looking for it, but yes, I get to contribute to building the podcast landscape in South Africa, which is something I'm passionate about. So if you know about me, like I said, things I'm passionate about is always bigger than myself. It's always the greater cause. It's always with a lot of people, or with people, helping them and helping others achieve their dreams. And so that's just where I'm at. So the Podcast Guild provides that tick box. So now I know in that space where I'm getting to meet amazing podcasters and content creators from South Africa and abroad. But it's just so fascinating, and skill sets and like the tech they use and the approaches, and it's so vast and so different, and everyone has something to share. And we are learning and growing together and building a podcast landscape in South Africa, which in time can rival international markets. So that's the goal. That's the heart. Because we as South Africans, as people, but as South Africans, we can tell stories. And we also innovative. So the switch will happen. We're no longer imitating, but innovating. And it's going to happen. And it's going to be absolutely amazing, the type of content and podcast that's going to come from this landscape here in South Africa and the African continent. So, yay, super, super excited. It's going to be super, super exciting. And the third thing, or the number 3, is the area of business. And the best way I can possibly explain this is relinquished one, revived one, and started one. So, relinquished one. I've moved away, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, that I've walked away from my business called The Still Effect, myself and my business partner, or my previous business partner. And this was initially a music production business for short films and documentaries. So that was the focus, the core part of our business. And we just started something amazing. And we liked working together, worked on albums together, and just decided to shift into a business, just start a business. And part of what we did in the beginning was just having podcasts as part of not our offering, but just really we created a podcast to showcase some of our amazing creative friends and just start to tell stories. And it's been like total DIY, mattress against the wall, just the works. We did everything DIY to make this podcast sound amazing and just to profile a few friends. And after meeting with a business mentor, business coach, and then said, hey, podcast is big, you need to shift your business towards that. And then slowly but surely we shifted to make podcasts a core offering of our business. So it moved from something that's on the side to the full-scale offering that it was. And that is from creative ideation, strategy, the works, recording, the actual production part, and then also releasing or syndication of these podcasts. And it was a wild journey, an amazing journey. Worked with amazing brands and businesses and organizations, some local, like Woolworths, Food for Thought, the Graduate School of Business, the GSB. We had a podcast with them. We had the Friedrich Naumann Foundation. I mean, these are just to name a few, and there's just so many. And even some international brands like the International Girls School Coalition and the Boys School Coalition. We got both of them. And like I said, there's just so many brands and businesses and organizations we worked with. Too many to mention. But obviously after 6 years or 7 years, we felt like it was just time to shift gears for both of us. The business now has a different iteration now, and the Stellar Effect brand is no longer there. But it was 6 years of just absolutely amazing journey. Developing the skill set of telling a story through podcasts and working with amazing brands and businesses to tell theirs. So the second thing which would be revived would be Creafluence. That is a business that also existed concurrently with the Stellar Effect, mainly focused on managing my creativity in terms of in the music space for my gigging and music productions, because I produced some albums and creating music. So that's how I housed and perfected and managed that aspect of my creativity and my creative output, was through Creafluence. And now I've just absorbed the podcast skill set into that as well. So I'm doing the same thing that I did at Stellar, but now it's within Creafluence once again, full scale. So like just having fun with telling people stories and helping people uncover and unpack. Then how I would like to put it, what they call your USP, which is unique selling point. I call it your ASP, your authentic selling point. What is uniquely you, and how do we tell your story the way you want to tell it, so it makes you appear like you in the space that you want to sell your product or service, or just appear in the world. So that can look like many things, and we can talk about that at another stage, not this podcast. But Creafluence was that, and is that, and serves that function. And then finally, I work for the church part-time, as I mentioned in the previous episode with Marlon. So I'm in charge of the creative arts, creative arts in our church. So that's worship, which is music. That's either coordinating, it is leadership growing, it's growing the worship ministry within our church. Next year we are planning to do an album, so that's another focus, another fun thing to do. So it's music and that's worship. It is sound, so it's all the technical aspects of a service and many other things throughout the life of a church. So ensuring that everything works and functions, and I've got someone working there under me as well, so I can help learn and grow. And so we involve all the tech stuff. And then there's multimedia, which is a separate thing, but it also forms, I guess, under the tech banner. But it's like that's lyrics, that's all the videos, all those type of stuff. So all of that I oversee, and I've got people in place, and so we kind of have to grow the ministry. So it's quite fun. I've been doing it for the past 3 years. Started in COVID. My wife and I just had our first child, and I started the post. And to be in that space, just to give you an insight, to be in that space to do worship in the church where you can't be in the space. So what was happening, or in the church itself, what was happening is I would have to choose songs, create the music here, send it to the vocalists in our church. They would film themselves on their phone, singing through the earbuds, send me that video back. I would then mix the audio to the music, plus sync the videos. It is just all of that to have a song or two songs part of our YouTube streaming on a Sunday. That was COVID for us. And then when we had a bit more relaxed spaces, we had a camera, film in church. So just a few of us in church, or film separately from a church service. Everyone comes in, we film a couple of songs, a couple of services, and then we take it and we merge the videos. It was wild. And so now we having not to do that for a while. So that's good. So that's my function. So yeah. And then the third thing is I've launched, so this was also in my hiatus time. I took a break after moving away from Stella, is starting a new thing which is called GK Consortium. So this is a business to business we focus really on masterclass and learnings and trainings to help businesses grow. And so I'm head of creative in that space, obviously. And so I get to we deal with podcasts and training and learning, and also finding your voice and branding it. So that's the approach, particularly with GK Consortium. I work with 2 other business partners or other directors in the company, and they have different functions within the company as well. But my focus is really on I'm head of creative, and so it's fresh. In fact, look how cool this is. We launched the business. We mapped everything out. Our first client was Stellenbosch Small Business Academy, and we took them through a masterclass, which is absolutely amazing. And we're pitching for a few more. But it was so amazing to work with small businesses. There was I think 12 or 13 small businesses. Some are budding in terms of just an idea. Others already had their business on the go, but it was so amazing just to engage with them and help them just add to finding their voice, and pitch, get ready for pitching. And it was really, really cool. So super, super excited for this entity. And so if you're wondering, how do you fit all these things? How do you manage all these things, these 3 entities? These businesses are quite refined and quite focused, which allows me the headspace and the space to have my fingers in the many pies, because it's not all businesses all the time. Well, one may make that argument, but also they're very distinct, but also they all cover in the area of creativity and innovation. So it's really helpful. So I'm very clear with my booking and my planning and all this stuff. So it's quite an intricate thing on the back end with Calendly and Trello and all the other management tools that I use to just make sense of everything, and factor in the rest and all those type of things. So if you're wondering, I'm managing. I've got everything sorted and navigate. And if there is a sort of a challenge, we obviously just pivot, as they would say, or adjust accordingly. But it is quite succinct and quite mapped out, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's the 3 things. Welcome to Hack the Day. In this segment, we look at things, gadgets, apps, processes, way of life that makes your life a bit easier, or at least more enjoyable. In this episode, I was in the theme of festivity and holidays. Instead of using an app, which we'll talk about, but it's more an approach to the festive season, which is called unplugging. Unplug. This is where you get detached from technology, in a sense, and immerse yourself more in family, friends, and the world out there. Books, all those things. Just immerse yourself in being present in the world around you. It's been a crazy year where technology has been it's further and further immersing ourselves into our being and our who we are and how we operate and how we live. It's just take this time, even if it's a few weeks when you're on leave, just to unplug. Instagram can wait, Facebook can wait, all these things can wait. Just unplug. And a few things you can use, I guess, to unplug, and it's what I'll talk about today. One would be a cell phone box. I call it the cell phone box. It's a box where you just place your cell phone in, and there are some high-tech ones where you type in a code, and there's a timer, and only after the timer can you grab your phone. The scary thing about it is if there's an emergency, you can't get your phone. I'd imagine there's a code to get it out there. But I would rather say, if there's a bowl in your house, maybe it's put it in a certain spot in your house where you put your phone in and let it sit there, and then maybe every hour or hour and a half, then you can check your phone for any messages. But start to develop or cultivate that practice of just unplugging, putting your phone away for a bit and just be present. Whether you're watching TV or playing with your kids, or spending time with your wife, or sitting outside, gardening, whatever it may be, just put your phone down, I guess. Also, talking about a phone, there's also apps or timers you can put on your phone, which then, like a night mode, which then blocks and filters out messages, or like WhatsApp and all those things. Particularly certain times of the day, you can schedule it. Do it. I do it very well. Although I've had to allow WhatsApps to come through, because if I'm sitting in the lounge and my wife is in the room and she's messaging me, previously I wasn't getting the messages. No, so now And I let it come through. And so, yeah, I was getting into some trouble by not answering the messages. But now I let it come through. Especially her messages. Especially her one. So her one comes through fine. But the rest can just go fly a kite for now. And then, so yeah, do that with technology. Then lastly, just play more board games. I've recently discovered this amazing YouTube channel, a board game YouTube channel. So cool. They play different games. I love it. I just absolutely love it. So I would really say play more board games, connect with other people, get out there, have coffee dates, have play dates, have all these things. Go and connect with people. We are designed to connect with people, to engage with people. That's our makeup, that's our design. So let's go and do that. You'll find that 2020 you'll be more refreshed and more excited and more able to tackle 2024, because the challenges of 2024 will come. Things will happen in 2024. Do not be mistaken. But if you're not energized and relaxed and rested in order to deal with it, you're gonna easily crumble in the first part of the year, and it will be a horrible 2024, which you're going to spend the entire year trying to catch up, because the workload will increase, the demands will increase, everything will increase and speed up, and you'll not be physically ready and emotionally ready to tackle the year. So I would encourage you, go ahead and just take the time, take the breath, and you'll be ready for 2024. So that's what 2023 meant to me. It's been full on, it's been wild, it's been mad, it's been learning, it's been growth, it's been pain, it's been aina, it's been all of these things. But I'm so glad that I've experienced 2023. In fact, I do this every year before the like in December period or November December period. I always think about the year going forward. So 2023 was going to be 2023. Free. Look what happened. Free in many aspects. And free to explore more business opportunities, but also free to just find out who I am or hear my voice again. So that was so amazing. And so what 2024 looks like could be, I would say 2020 more of this discovery, but not more burnout, not more craziness, but just more of just knowing who I am, clear boundaries, knowing what I bring, and knowing what I'm called to do and invest in, and who I'm called to invest in. So I think that will be 2024 or 2020 more, I would say, for me. But 2023, I would not change it for anything. I'm so glad that 2023 happened. Thank you for listening to this episode of Things We Learned on a Monday Morning. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe.